Guys, welcome back to HPL, where I really need to work on my pun game to keep up with this guy right here. The one and only That's Admirable, Nathan Zamora. I'm Tannen Gray. So we're about to get into our second match here. We have Purple versus Era. You know what? I may have been a little Purple-centric in that rant earlier. You know, I was trying to build him up a little bit, but I will say this. I was very, very impressed by Era yesterday.
Yeah, you and I talked a lot about his play and really great stuff that's coming from him. But understands his game plans and scenarios, really handles the tough spots very well, and we're going to see exactly how he handles those exact same spots here. Guys, game one is getting underway.
And let's see if we're surprised by what Purple brings to the board. We saw Era queue up a lot of strategies for control yesterday, and you know what? We're going to have a little bit of surprise on both ends. It looks like Era is bringing what looks to be a very aggressive Hunter build versus Purple playing what looks like Druid.
Yeah, Era, continues to surprise us with some of his choices here, and Purple, very interesting to see him play Druid here. He's playing, again, wide range of classes he can play, but I am a little bit surprised that he's not playing Rogue in this first game.
You know, the more I thought about it, I actually was going to ask you about this before the broadcast today. I really thought there was a chance that Purple played Druid in game one, since Era's playing so much control and handlock yesterday.
That's a very good point, actually. The fact that he has looked at that, and Era's kind of gone to the next step. Maybe gone back and looked at his own play and thought, Purple may be trying to target me in a situation like this. Again, a guy who very much loves to do his research, knows what's going on here. He practiced a ton with Firebat leading up to the World Championship, helping him pick up that victory. Firebat has credited him a lot in that regard, and shortly after that, Archon picked him up. So, I kind of like the Druid choice, all things considered, and just straight away choosing to Wrath this Mad Scientist, make sure he's not taking any damage from it.
So you're saying the way to get to join Archon is to coach someone to win a World Championship in Hearthstone?
That's it.
That's all you have to do?
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
All right, easy peasy.
Yeah.
I'll be on Archon this time next year.
Let's get to work on it. So not a lot of action here for Era, just going to go ahead and choose a hero power, but his hand moving forward is actually pretty darn good. And this is a really heads-up spot for Purple, again, demonstrating his matchup knowledge in situations like this. He knows there's not going to be big game Hunter targets in here, and he knows that it's important minion to get on the board, start working on ways to either challenge what could be a freezing trap or potentially the next minion that Era plays.
And you're going to see Era actually use his bow here to take care of this big game Hunter, probably protecting his trap, or just making sure that he gets to get the initiative next turn if Purple doesn't have anything going on.
Yeah, this attack is really going to be very telling.
Might be going to the face. Looks like Era's struggling with which way to go here.
Yeah, this is, we don't know if this is explosive or it's freezing trap at this point, so, what he chooses to attack, the fact that he's even thought about going for face at this point, if this is a tactic by Era, this is a beautiful one. Because now we don't know if this is freezing trap or if it's explosive trap. 2 copies of Big Game Hunter in here, so I have to believe 100% he was trying to target some of those control strategies.
Oh yeah, Purple came definitely prepared to play against handlock from Era. We saw Era play handlock and play it very well yesterday.
I have to believe this Big Game Hunter is going to attack at some point. But, there's a chance he holds on to it. He does have another Big Game Hunter. He's just going to play here as a 4-2. He's got Dr. Boom that he can innervate out next turn, maybe use one of the Boom bots to go ahead and proc this trap. And when you have your opponent has 2 4-2s out, you're not really too excited to play a minion into this kind of board.
Not at all. I mean, you want to try to get value off of your trap here, so playing minions is going to be a little weird, a little precarious. It's going to be interesting to see what he does over the next turn or two, because he doesn't necessarily want to use his weapon here if he doesn't have to. He might want to get the extra charge off of his secret here, so it's going to be really interesting, because I think that this is going to be one of the most telling turns and interesting turns of the game for Era here.
Yeah, and it's sort of something else that we got a glimpse at here is once he drew this Abusive Sergeant, you kind of get the feel he's trying to, pick up the heat a little bit. And once he draws his Leper Gnome, unless we see something like a Savannah High main here, I fully expect this to be dedicated to putting a lot more pressure on his opponent's side of the board, but he's had no minion pressure outside of that Mad Scientist.
Yeah, just a great queue up here by Era. He played 4 control decks in the first 4 matches yesterday, and then switched it up with a Tempo Mage deck in Game 5. And as you said, his opponent was talking about how good his queues were, and we're seeing another great queue up here.
Yeah, this is still a spot where Purple's going to continue to take his time, just put Sludge Belcher down, make sure there's no charge minions going to get any shenanigans in here. And 2 4-2s, this is the power of those Hunter traps when your opponent can't figure out exactly what they are. And I think something that Era was trying to set in his head was that you can't figure out whether this is freezing trap, whether or not it's explosive trap. When he's dedicated to that second Big Game Hunter, he's really going to look to extend this game and try to find giant burst combos instead of trying to chip away at him and then focus more on these mid-sized minions that's going on.
Oh yeah, we're going to see a really slow game out of Era here over the last couple turns, Hunter, and then there's going to be a lot of turns with a lot of things happening. He's going to be playing 3 to 4 cards a turn here, doing a ton of damage to Purple. He's going to have a bunch of big bursts, but the longer he waits, the more likely something huge comes out of Purple's deck.
Yeah, so just going to continue to wait his time, not even going to give up the idea that he's playing something more aggressive, maybe with 2 Leper Gnomes. There's the first piece of that combo with Savage Roar. So going to go ahead and trigger this trap now. It is, in fact, Explosive Trap.
Probably the worst one for purple here in the situation.
Yeah, a little bit tough. And, ooh, that camera got frozen, and he is not acting quickly after that. That may be a little bit of connectivity issues, but...
It looks like he's moved a little bit, so hopefully he'll be able to get into this game. Hopefully he's not... Yeah, it seems we've just been notified that purple is having a little bit of a lag issue.
Yeah, we'll see what's going forward here. Yep, looks like he's good and back here, so maybe not be able to get his camera feed up, but good that he's still connected to this game. We're going to see this one move forward.
Yeah, hopefully for him, everything is actually back to normal and
Yeah,
fine
I'm
here.
curious in this spot like this, now that you've procced this trap, how willing are you to innovate out Dr. Boom in a scenario like this?
I think it's probably one of the, if you didn't have Azure Drake, it would be very simple. You would just 100% innervate out the Dr. Boom, but there's at least something to think about of playing this Azure Drake and having a 5 damage, 2 damage swipe next turn.
Yeah, I think a big part of this too, the fact that this Dr. Boom came into play is because he drew that Savage Roar. You don't have to have Force of Nature to make Savage Roar effective. You just have to have a bunch of minions on the board. It's when you couple it with that card that you're seeing massive damage come from it. But just the Savage Roar itself on this kind of board, very scary proposition for Era, so he's got to look to find a way to start stifling this action.
Yeah, it plus the swipe might have actually been lethal next turn. I haven't done up the damage because I can't count that high actually, but it's quite a bit.
It's 12 plus 10 plus 4 is what it would be if everything remained in place right now. I'm sorry, 10 plus, yeah, 12 plus 10 plus 4. So he's going to go ahead and unleash the Hounds here and see exactly where he's going to put all these minions at. It looks like Quick Shot. He wants to keep his life total high.
We're going to get an Abusive Sergeant in here too, so only one of these beasts is going to take out the sludge, the slime left over by the Sludge Belcher.
Gonna go ahead and use 2 instead. So it looks like the rest of this is going towards the dome.
Yeah, this does actually get in more damage, so I guess this is actually the better play and the more efficient play.
Yep.
And he's going to finish it off with a weapon attack here, moving purple down to 12. He's at a very low life total, and Era has a lot of extra damage in his hand next turn.
9 plus 8 plus 4. It's 17, it's 21. So not able to have enough quite yet, but Swipe's going to handle this very nicely. He's going to go ahead and Savage Roar right now. When you can pick up 8 damage out of Savage Roar and you don't have any other development going on, and there's no check on any other threats, excellent stuff that you're seeing, and he's just going to push for massive damage right now, and Era needs to get something done because this is a ton of damage. He could even potentially just die to the boom bots.
Well, I mean, I think Era actually has lethal here if this is a huffer. If this is a huffer, this is actually
4,
lethal.
9, 10. Yeah, if that's a huffer, that's 12 damage exactly. Oh gosh, I mean, I don't see. I mean, I think you got to go for it at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be down to fate here to see if he can beat purple in this first match. I think Era's played this game very interestingly, but very well. He's been very patient when he had to be early in the game.
The only thing I would have liked to see him do differently was actually play these leopard gnomes and just, you know, let them deal their damage. You know, you don't have to get full value out of the explosive trap. The fact that it stifled the way that your opponent chose to attack, I think, is enough in that situation. So the fact that he's had these both in his hand, that's 4 less damage he had. I mean, he could have potentially had lethal his turn. It's not a huffer.
It's not a huffer. It's a Leok, and that's not going to be enough to get
No,
him
that's
out of the
it.
situation.
He has no way to handle this Dr. Boom, and purple's going to take game 1 here.
Yeah, a quick game 1. We saw Era, you know, queue up. It looked like Face Hunter here, and he was not super aggressive in the early game. You saw him have some of the aggressive elements. It wasn't a bad draw. It's just his draw versus purple's set up to some weird situations there.
Yeah, I have to believe the big difference was in the turns that he chose to not utilize his leopard gnomes whatsoever. Again, that explosive trap has already thrown off the way that your opponent has gone ahead and attacked you. And just the fact that you're getting 2 damage out of leopard gnomes and they're taking out those big game hunters, Face Hunter isn't a deck that's going to hunt for value. It's going to look to push for big damage and try to kill your opponent. Despite the fact that he got in a lot of damage that game, it's something we commonly see from hunters. If you go look at their stats across the board, they usually have high damage. That's what the class is oriented around. The difference is when they're losing, they're not getting that final little push. And in this game, the fact that he missed those couple points of damage was that final push.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what would have happened if that turn where he used 2 mana to hero power and left 2 mana over. If he would have played the leopard gnome, maybe played both of them, what would have happened, how the game would have progressed from there. You got to think that maybe he might have found those last couple points of damage. Guys, if you want to see what Face Hunters do, you can go to pvplive.net and see the breakdown, see the statistics, and see how you should be playing with your version of Face Hunter at home. And you know what? Go check out that website. You'll be able to find out a few things, maybe help yourself win a few more games.
Yeah, when we come back, it's going to be game 2, Purple versus Era. Era looking to tie it up, Purple looking to make it 2-0. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.